All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today we're gonna be talking about some amazing show-stopping fragrances for the holiday season. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on these fragrances, then let's go. All right, first up from the house of Jeroboam, we have Gozo. All right, so if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of the house of Jeroboam. And so Gozo is the newest fragrance to my collection from the house. And this is such a unique take on patchouli, tuberose, and musk. And it's all combined together for almost like a candy-like sweetness with a slight earthiness there, but it is such a gorgeous wear. Upon initial spray, I definitely get a candy-like sweetness, and it almost comes off like a grape or orange soda. I guess kind of, if you look at the bottle, it almost looks like a piece of candy in a way. But yeah, I get that candy-like vibe, and then immediately I can definitely pick up on some patchouli. In the mid, you get a bit of geranium that starts to push forward. That's providing a bit of spiciness and a aromatic quality. Then in the dry down, that patchouli and musk really start to take center stage along with the ambroxan. But yeah, this is definitely a gorgeous wear. I would say in terms of like projection, this is quite a heavy projector. It pushes out quite heavily. There's a very nice sillage. And the longevity, I would say, is about 7 hours or so on my skin. But yeah, this is definitely a unique wear. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of tuberose. This definitely has a heavy blast of tuberose in it as well. But for me, it just works. Yeah, this is definitely a good one. And it may actually go on my list for one of my favorite fragrance discoveries of 2024. I'm probably going to make a video towards the end of the year with some of the fragrances that I enjoyed the most from this year. But yeah, this is a great one and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Gozo by Jeroboam. All right, next up from the house of Nishane, we have Ani. All right, so Ani is definitely no stranger to the fragrance community. This is a fragrance that's received a ton of hype, and rightfully so. I mean, Nishane did things right with this vanilla fragrance. This is definitely a dominant vanilla fragrance. However, when you think vanilla, it is, at least the way that my mind works, is, vanilla equals sweetness. And of course, that is true. But also, my mind kind of shifts into thinking about gourmand fragrances. So while this fragrance kind of pushes into that gourmand territory, this is the type of vanilla that is not like an edible vanilla. I think when I look at gourmand fragrances, I look at them now, and especially if they have vanilla in them, it's like edible or non-edible. And this is more of like a non-edible vanilla that is just done extremely well. You also get a bit of like lemon or citruses in the top here. So it almost comes off like a sweet, lemony, vanillic fragrance, but not necessarily one that you're like, oh man, I really want to eat that. But yeah, the perfumer here was Cecile Zarokian. She's definitely one of my favorite perfumers, and she does phenomenal work, especially when it comes to like oriental fragrances or fragrances that definitely have a heavy dose of vanilla. She does phenomenal work. But yeah, this is definitely a banger. I don't even need to speak about longevity, projection, sillage. I mean, you probably heard tons about it. I mean, this is a beast, hands down. Definitely a room filler, but such a gorgeous wear. And this fragrance right here layers really well with Hachivat. If you're into layering, or if you've never done that layering combo, you should definitely check it out. In my experience, Ani tends to overpower Hachivat, so I kind of have to play with the spray routine a little bit. But man, you layer those two up together and it is such a sexy and intoxicating combination. I mean, those two fragrances stand alone are amazing. Put them together and it is just jaw-dropping amazing. So definitely give that a shot if you have both of those fragrances. But Ani, yeah, this is a good one and definitely works perfectly during the holiday season. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Ani by Nishane. Next up from the house of BDK, we have Tabac Rose. Man, so I think you guys know I'm a huge lover of rose, and this is rose done extremely well, and it's combined with chocolate. So in this fragrance, the transformation and development that it goes through is something that I really, really enjoy. So upon initial spray with this fragrance, you definitely get a heavy blast of rose. There might be a subtle hint of tobacco, although I don't really pick up too much on the tobacco notes in here. But there are definitely some ambery undertones. And then once you move into the dry down, you get this just very delicious, beautiful, chocolatey sweetness that starts to push forward. And then the rose starts to subside a little bit. And that's when this fragrance becomes a bit more gourmand, although I wouldn't say that it's like a straight up gourmand fragrance, but it definitely veers down that road and it's on its way to becoming a gourmand, but definitely not a full-on gourmand. But man, it is such a gorgeous wear, and this fragrance is quite potent. It was perfumed by one of my favorite perfumers, Julian Rasquinet. Typically with his work, he has big he receives a lot of influence from Middle Eastern perfumery. I wouldn't say that this fragrance is like, inspired by Middle Eastern perfumery in any way, but, he did, I think, spend a lot of time in Dubai. So he, definitely pulls influences from that region of the world. But man, this is such a lovely one. And I think this is probably my favorite fragrance from the house of BDK. I love rose, I love chocolate. And that combination together is quite heavenly. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Tabac Rose by BDK. Next up, from the house of Caron, we have Tobac EX Ski. Man, so this is a very sexy and dusty cocoa with some slightly sweet tobacco and chocolate paired beautifully with a bit of booze, and that's all blended together extremely well. And this fragrance reminds me so much of my grandfather. So it comes off with like that sweet pipey tobacco here, and my grandfather used to smoke a pipe. It was just very sweet smelling. I love the smell of that tobacco so much whenever he would smoke it, and for some reason this fragrance reminds me of his kind of sweet pipe tobacco. So, it has, I don't know, it just kind of, I guess in a way, it kind of holds a special place in my heart because it reminds me of him. But man, this is such a gorgeous wear. This one is just slightly gourmand, but extremely delicious. Great sillage on projection here. So, you are going to leave a gorgeous trail. People are going to follow you and ask you, what are you wearing? This is a beautiful one. Definitely one of my favorite tobacco fragrances. It's hard for me to choose sometimes, and a lot of times I go back and forth between Un Air d'Apogée by Maison Violet and Tobac EX Ski. But they're definitely going head to head for my top tobacco scent. But yeah, this is such a gorgeous one and definitely one to check out. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Tobac EX Ski by Caron. And finally, from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia, we have Vampire Rhum. Man, so this is such a gorgeous concoction of vanilla, patchouli, and rum, and that's all blended together so nicely. You also have a bit of oud in here, which is providing a bit of dark moodiness to this fragrance, and that patchouli is giving an earthy tone to this, but all that combined together with the vanilla and booze, it all balances. They just balance each other out so well. And this fragrance has, I think, 4 or 5 different types of vanilla in here. So you might hear that and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be sickeningly sweet. It is sweet, but it is not sickeningly sweet. I'm not the biggest fan of gourmand fragrances. This fragrance is definitely gourmand, but it's not a fragrance to where it's off-putting from being too sweet. It is quite a gorgeous wear, and upon initial spray, you're definitely getting slapped in the face with that vanilla, but you're also getting that patchouli and booze that are starting to push forward. But that patchouli really helps to soften out that vanilla a little bit. and to just give it a nice earthiness. This is such a gorgeous one from the house of Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Man, Lorenzo Pazzaglia is definitely one of my favorite fragrance houses from 2024. They just do amazing, amazing work, and their fragrances are all quite potent, so you don't need a whole lot of sprays. What I found with this one right here, I just do 2 or 3 sprays and that's enough for me. I definitely don't want to overwhelm myself or anyone else around me. And kind of like I said, this fragrance does come off quite sweet. So I feel like sweet, but not sickeningly sweet. But I feel like if I did overspray this one, I would easily overwhelm myself. And I may not actually enjoy this one as much. So I think for me and my own personal taste, moderation is key. So that's why 2 or 3 sprays works a treat for me. But there are no rules to this. Spray as much as you like. We all have our own opinions and ways that we like to smell our fragrances. I just like moderation with my own fragrances. So 2 or 3 sprays works a treat for me with this particular one. But yeah, I am really loving this house, and I'm curious and really interested into exploring this house and diving in a bit deeper. But yeah, this is one to definitely check out, and it fits perfectly in the holiday season. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Vampire Rhum from Lorenzo Pazzaglia. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. And let me know down in the comments section, what fragrances do you have in your collection that you enjoy wearing during the holiday season? I'd love to hear about them. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.